Welcome to the Green Hour on 900 AM WURD, Word on the Weekend, sponsored by Solia.
I'm your host, Laura Gaines, and we are on air every Sunday from 12 to 1 following Reverend Louise Bishop's program. You can also find us online at www.900amwurd.com. My co-host is Michael Ledbetter, and each week we bring clarity to the complex discussion on health and environment. We encourage clean living from the inside out. A centerpiece of this is maintaining a healthy lifestyle and getting informed about the connection between good health and what is happening in the world around you.
This includes what you consume, what you wear, what products you use on your body, how you clean your home, what you drive, what you purchase, the decisions you make every day.
Today, we have Dr. Peter Pajil with us. Dr. Pajil, welcome.
Thank you, Laura. Good morning. How are you?
We're excellent. Thank you so much for joining us.
I'm so happy to be here with you.
We appreciate it. Dr. Pajil is a naturopath, and I'd like you to first tell us about your practice of naturopathy and the path that led you to where you are today.
Thank you. I'd be happy to explain that a little bit. Naturopathy is simply the study of holistic medicine. It includes everything holistically, and of course, it excludes allopathic medication. There's nothing invasive ever done in naturopathy.
Okay. So this, you deal, I guess, primarily with emotional health. I know that we've talked before, and you basically said the subconscious rules everything. Can you talk about that?
Thanks, Laura. It was my pleasure to actually be with you for a consultation. It includes mind, body, and spirit. This is one system. You cannot separate. You affect one, you affect all. So if you can imagine a triangle, yes, we talked about structural, we talked about biochemical. There's also the emotional aspect. Inside that triangle, I also call the spirit. For this conversation, I'll simply define that as the electromagnetic energy. Ultimately, in my opinion, the body works on many levels. There's histology, there's biochemicals, there's biofrequency. If we can make the effect on the frequency level, we are getting to the source or the cause of the matter. Molecularly, you are made up of molecules which have electrons and protons that spin, creates a vibration. When you have trillions, it creates a frequency. Actually, the truth is, everything's a frequency. Just like when you want a different radio station in your car, you don't put a different radio station in, you just turn the dial and get a different frequency. So that's why it's so important to get to the cause of the matter. Ultimately, the more I understand natural health, the more I get everything is emotional. Emotion is actually energy in motion. Contrary to people's opinion, emotions are not processed through our brain. They're not processed through the neocortex. They're actually processed through our bodies. They go into these invisible wires that we call meridians. Now, every meridian is associated with a specific organ, and every organ is associated with a specific emotion. For example, anger lies in the liver. People say I'm livid. Gallbladder, resentment. Grief, lungs. Fear, kidneys. On and on like that. That's why it's so important to discuss and get to the cause of the emotional aspects.
Is this considered kinesiology?
No. Kinesiology is another modality. So if I'm painting a picture of the mind, body, and spirit, I'm painting a picture of biochemical, structural, emotional.
Right.
We are pretty much concerned with the physical. But actually, if everything's a frequency, then really where's the problem with the symptoms or the physical? Ultimately, it becomes emotional. Why? Because if I can diverse just a little bit, there was some fabulous research work done by, and I'm sure many of your listeners understand this, by a doctor named Masaru Emoto. Dr. Emoto did some pretty interesting research around 1998 in the research of water. Or what he discovered in his research through basically looking at the molecular structure of water, he discovered simply that water has the ability to change its molecular structure given its environment, frequency placed upon it, or conditions. And he did something very interesting. Under a dark field microscope, he froze the water and looked at its molecular structure. When he changed the frequency by simply playing music to it, the molecular structure changed. What he discovered was music, like classical music, looked very reformed and very beautiful, like a beautiful snowflake. Music like heavy metal deformed it. Then he did something very, very interesting. He simply, in different languages, placed on the water words like love and gratitude. When he looked at it under a molecular structure, it was very beautiful and very reformed. Words like hate deformed it. So now let's come back to our conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Given that our bodies are 75 to 90% water, 2/3 of this planet is water, what happens is that when that negative emotion gets stuck in an organ, it leaks energy which starts to stagnate the water in every cell of our body. It is then that starts the breakdown of the body. Laura, none of us, at least myself included, was ever taught how to embrace and experience a negative emotion or experience. Consider every emotion and experience we ever had is still in our bodies and still in our subconscious, literally buried alive, stuck. So there's a disconnect. Intellectually, we understand, but when a circumstance or a situation happens, we react and have no clue why, because it's still in our bodies. So we don't know how to emote the negative experience. Until we become conscious that really the subconscious is running the show, there's a disconnect. And we're only 2% conscious. That's why it's interesting, people sit in front of me all the time wanting to lose weight. They know, eat less, work out. Do you notice it's of no value? Because the subconscious is running the show. They're present, they're excited, but the subconscious says, you know what, I'm not up for all this. That's why it's so important.
Right. Dr. Pajil, we live in times that are very stressful, and they've been stressful for a while, and there's a certain amount of anxiety and pain in our everyday life. How can we achieve that emotional balance, or how do we tap into that subconscious when we live in a world that's bombarding us with problems every day?
Oh, that's a pretty interesting question. There's lots of ways to view that, and there's lots of ways to approach that. You know, when we really start to look at this emotional thing, when we really start to, investigate it, it really comes down to two things as a choice. And this is why it's so important to open the heart. I wish to tell you, ultimately, this answer is about love. Ultimately, it is about healing. And there's two choices that's always in front of us: love and fear. So this way of change, the emotion is the energy that moves you. So when you find your life stuck in a pattern, repeatedly, let's say reacting to the same person, allergen, food, or time of day, or any other life experience in a negative or painful way, it's a sign that the energy moving you is motivated by survival and protection, rather than your present circumstance. There's a law of transformation and creation that states emotions transform energy. Energy creates movement, and movement is change, and change is the essence of life. More than the fear of death, Laura, it's the fear of change that keeps us stuck in the cycle of self-destruction and self-defeat. When you're able to embrace change, follow your heart, and go with the flow, you're emotionally flowing through life, and life is emotionally flowing through you.
Right. You spoke to me about waking up with a sense of purpose, grace, and ease in the morning instead of, waking up, hitting the ground running, charging, emails, coffee, work. How do you do that, Dr. Pajil?
Well, we really want to get a sense of how our brains are hardwired. Really, it's really hardwired for survival. Now, survival is not a bad thing, but if you're always in survival, it's not healthy. The antelope has survival skills for the lion. But if it's always in survival, it won't see the lion.
Right.
So to have purpose, grace, and ease as we go through life, it will take something. For me, it takes up giving my resistance to my own resistance. That's the flow, the ability to change. To give up my own resistance. That's why I share with you, it doesn't take anything to wake up upset, pissed off, and angry. That's just the way it's hardwired. But it does take something.
That's right. We have.
By the way, that what I really am implying, Laura, this kind of healing, this is not for sissies. This is the way of the warrior. This work here is because you want to be able to expose all those dark sides of ourself to the light of love. It does take something.
Yeah.
Most people don't want to take a look because they know they're not going to like what they look. That's why in our office, there is never, ever, ever a make wrong.
Right.
In nature, I am very clear, there is no such thing as blame at fault. It only exists in my language. It only exists in my words. So our bodies never make a mistake. They always perform the correct reaction to a particular circumstance. Of course, that reaction is what we call symptoms that we don't quite understand, want, nor appreciate. In the emotional domain, consider that is our body's language speaking to us. That when we have these issues, these glitches, that we have disconnected from a negative experience or emotion that we don't want to experience. But, we don't listen. We have a pain, take a pain pill. So there is a very interesting way, there is a very unique way of absolutely clearing that emotion from the body, just like you clear your phone. When that happens, there's a clarity, there's a space. The condition still exists, the circumstances still exist. However, doesn't affect you, doesn't have that hold on you because you allowed it to emote. It's now unresolved. So we need to harmonize that subconscious with the conscious. It's like the pink elephant in the room.
Wow. Dr. Pajil, I want to make sure I'm hearing this correct.
Please.
That the emotions that you have can actually affect the molecular structure of the cells in your body. And basically, if you're having emotional issues, that on the inside of you, at the molecular structure of the cells in your body can actually be affected, where you can become sick. You can have cancerous cells being generated from your actual negative thoughts. Is that accurate?
Well, first of all, let me just make some clarification. As a naturopathic, I don't have a disease concept. I know they've languaged 12,000 diseases, but to me, that's the name it, blame it game. So I'm not sure what that is. If you want to call it a bad cell, okay, we can compromise with you with that. However, neuroscience now has allowed me to language what we've known all the time. See, when we were kids, we had a saying, sticks and stones breaks our bones, right? Names will never hurt us. But now we know that's not accurate. We know words hurt. We know words can change our life. By one statement, somehow human beings make a decision that something's wrong and I'm not good enough. Literally. Actually, it's worse than that. It's like a judge sentenced us to life, whether true or false. You're guilty. So we simply wake up in a paradigm that something's wrong. It's like it is literally buried alive, unresolved. In the neuroscience aspect, and given Dr. Emoto's great research on water that it can change its molecular structure instantly, it is why acupuncturists could tell you have a problem in an organ or a gland 0.1% before it ever exposes. Our physicians cannot diagnose until it's already 40 to 50% in a pathological state. So yes, emotions literally affect our body. Of course, you hear bad news, what happens? You shut down, you faint, you get upset. That's why this one system, mind, body, and spirit, you cannot separate. But we need to be more aware of what really runs the show. It's the subconscious.
Right. Dr. Pajil.
Don't know how to embrace our experiences and emote them and be with them and allow them to flow.
Right.
Yes, go ahead, Laura.
I was going to say, Dr. Pajil, and audience, we have to take a brief commercial break, and
Please.
We'll be right back. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Welcome back to the Green Hour on 900 AM WURD, Word on the Weekend. Now your host, Laura Gaines.
Thank you. We are here with Dr. Peter Pajil, naturopath, and we are talking about emotional healing. Dr. Pajil, we are bombarded with physical issues, the environment, food products, toxins, climate change. These external things, when we talk about, controlling our thoughts, how do you offset the physical things that are coming at us every day?
Thanks, Laura. Let me help our listeners with a few tips.
Mm-hmm.
Let me help you understand, especially when we talk about do words affect us. So there are some words that we use every day that have a similar impact. Words like my, words like try, words like can't. Let's start with the word my. It simply means belonging to or done by me. So what happens when you use my to describe a symptom or a disease?
Mm-hmm.
My migraine headache is killing me. My allergies are making me sneeze like crazy. My arthritis won't let me stand up for long periods. My diabetes is acting up. When you use the word my when speaking of a symptom or a disease, you create an identity as if the condition defines you. That's dangerous. Adding the word my means that the symptom belongs to you. The truth is that ache or dysfunction is a sign that there's an imbalance in your system, and your body is attempting to get your attention. When you qualify the headache by calling it my headache, it sends a negative message to your body, and the cycle breakdown continues. When you participate in these verbal patterns of communication, they're limiting you. The body has to take on another opponent, you. It's hard to defend against yourself. It's like shadow boxing. The opponent ducks every time you do. This is what I recommend. When you talk about a symptom, make it the pain instead of my pain. The pain in my head, the pain in my stomach, the pain in my back. At the same time, you should own your body parts. My head, my stomach, my back, don't own the symptoms.
Right.
Arthritis, multiple sclerosis, my Parkinson's disease. When you do, you're just solidifying the dysfunction as being a part of you. Now, I want to share some very, very simple words that are very, very powerful. And actually, they're the secret. So I want to share these words,
Please.
how to emote any negative experience or emotion that is unresolved and lingering in your body or you may be experiencing at the moment. The words are simply infinite love and gratitude. Infinite love and gratitude. Laura, infinite means the universe. It's the collective consciousness. It has no beginning or end. Love is the universal power that propels life, fueling your will and enabling you to face and overcome challenges. And gratitude empowers you to go through life without judgment. With this feeling, you see the value of any experience as an opportunity rather than being a victim of your circumstance. Infinite love and gratitude are simply the universal healing frequency words.
Yes.
Use them.
Dr. Pajil, we have a caller. If we could, we have Karen from University City.
Please. Hi, Karen.
Good morning. I say grace and mercy to you and the listeners and to the host.
Thank
I
you.
really want to affirm what you're saying because, number one, all disease begins with emotion. There's so many charts outside of allopathics that will support what you were speaking of today. And I feel certain that Philadelphia is ready and the world around us who may be listening through the internet or live need to really wake up and hear the words that you're saying. Because, number one, I know for a fact from Dr. Z. Gang Shaw, from Dr. Jewel Pokum, that these points that you're making need to be really edified and harnessed by everyone who can hear the sound of your voice. People do not realize that every disease has an emotional base. Every dysfunction of an organ starts from an emotional action. And I am so thankful that I tuned into this radio show, thanks to Gilda Coker, who's today's her birthday, along with Martin Luther King, that you're speaking these truths to those who are listening.
Thank you so much, Karen.
Thank you.
That was beautiful. Yes, that's so beautiful. So there's really basically 5 principles also. The quality, quantity, and frequency of our food, water, exercise, rest, and what I'll simply say tonight is to own your power. Own your power. So, for example, again, don't own the symptoms. Own your body. My arm, my back. That therein will make a huge difference for us. And it is, it's always unfolding. It's always more and more layers and deeper aspects. But it is change. And it is about flowing with life. And it's about embracing it.
Right. Dr. Pajil, could you tell us, you are also, in addition to being a naturopath, correct me if I'm wrong, a Kung Fu master?
Oh, thank you. I actually don't hold myself as master. I am a teacher of the martial arts Wing Chun system, which is actually recreated by a woman. So I actually call it the womanization of martial arts. It is a system based on simplicity, efficiency, and economy of motion. The title is called Sifu. In 2 ways to write this word in Cantonese, but it simply means the father of our Kung Fu. So in that context, we have a funny opinion. You cannot teach, and it can be learned. How you learn? Through your own experiences. However, human beings actually don't know how to experience as live, moment to moment. You know, Laura, if I ask someone if they have a brain, they'll say yes. I said, you ever see it? No. Can you get your hands on it? No. How do you know? As live, they have no experience of it. It's theoretical with strongly held beliefs. So how to make yourself a piece of Kung Fu is not easy. But how I got started in natural health was from my master, who at a restaurant table, when I asked him, Sifu, what was your method? He wrote in 2 words in Chinese called Samfa. Sam means heart, and Fa is method, the way of the heart. Little did I know how much this would affect my life. Maybe I was too busy, way of the fist. But as my life continued to grow and mature, I realized the deepness of my Sifu's 2 words, the way of the heart, how to uncover. Because we have to be vulnerable. Otherwise, we disconnect again.
Exactly. Dr. Pajil, we have another caller, Barry from West Philadelphia, but I want to pick up this vulnerability concept after the caller. Barry?
Yes.
Welcome.
Good afternoon. Welcome, and I wish you all a blessed, healthy New Year.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barry.
And I'm just so blessed to turn on the radio and hear your message, and it just made me think back to, I have been going through some depression, and I remember months ago I thought to myself I was desperate enough to go to a survey, one of those places where they do trial tests on you, and I looked at the long list of things that could happen, including losing my life to some experimental drug. I backed away and said I must have been crazy to even consider something like that, and I look at the female members of my family who's always taking a pill for something, and how their bodies seem to be so out of whack, and then I think about the drugs, that it seems that we as a people have become so Americanized that we take like you say, we take a pill for everything, and those pills, when you listen to the commercials, it seems that the things that they can cause are more serious than what you're taking the pill for, And I think about the Chinese culture and how they're in tune with the universe, their bodies, they're exercising, they're doing movements throughout their lives, and they live to be, they eat healthy, they move, they ride bikes until they're in their 80s, 90s even, And I think we as a people, we have to understand that it's okay to say, we've been brainwashed, we've become too Americanized, we've lost our way, maybe we have to back away from American medicine, and find out what our ancestors did to survive, things like that,
Thank
how
you.
how they lived their lives, what they ate, what they put in their bodies for nourishment, and what came out because of the way they ate, and how they lived long, prosperous lives, and how, because of the culture, we've gotten so much away from what's important and vital to us as a people.
Right. Thank you so much, Barry. And I want to get Dr. Pajil's response to that comment. Thank you very much, Barry.
You're quite welcome.
Dr.
Barry,
Pajil?
thank you for your kind words. I do hope you're feeling better. I'm not here to make a case against medicine. I certainly could. There is truth in all things. But you're correct. Allopathic medicine will never, ever change the condition that created the problem, and it may handle a symptom. The only difference, in my opinion, between allopathic medication and poison is simply dosage. If you gave it to somebody who's well, it would make them sick. It's not quite figured out how you think you're going to give it to someone who's sick and make them well.
Right.
So it's not a side effect, it's actually a direct effect.
Right. I do want, we're going to have Dr. Paul, who's our regular, join us in a moment, Dr. Pajil.
My pleasure.
But I wanted to ask you if we can talk for a moment about vulnerability, because we talked about that as sort of a starting point for healing.
Yes. Like I said, these negative experiences and emotions that get into us, let me use one as an example. Shame. Laura, we all have it. And no one wants to talk about it, and to the degree we don't talk about it, it has us. And if you can imagine a scale, and shame being on one side and connectivity is on the other, vulnerability is the slide that goes up and down. And to the degree I'm vulnerable, I'm connected, I'm passionate, I'm joyful, I have love. And to the degree I go down to shame, I start to disconnect. And you know what, thing? I hurt anyway. So it is really, again, how to emote that, how to get to the source. We can actually find out when that was first conceived in the body and where it's stuck in the body, and actually clear it, like I said, like you clear your phone.
Right.
Very important.
Dr. Pajil, can you give us a contact number or email address if listeners would like to get in touch with you, please?
Oh, that would be my pleasure. My office is called Potential Health Naturopathic. Phone number there is 856. It's in Blackwood, New Jersey, 856-374-3882.
Excellent.
374-3882. Our school is located in the heart of Chinatown in 117 North 10th Street on the 5th floor. Our phone number there is 215-238-9066.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Dr. Paul, are you with us?
We have Dr. Paul here as well.
Hi, Dr. Paul. My pleasure to meet you.
Yes. How is the family?
Everyone's great.
Excellent.
Thank you so much.
Beautiful. I love this discussion. Again, you're just going to get an amen over here, and a hallelujah.
Thank you.
What's going across the airways today. Again, dealing with a very powerful issue, dealing with our people and our minds.
That's right.
The spirit, mind, and body of what's going on.
That's right. One of the things that I do in the office is we do a total body analysis. In other words, very quickly, I discover your primary anatomy or physiology that is causing you an issue. Now, you may be suspicious or something, but I'll discover that. There's always what I call a disease-causing agent affecting the primary. It could be hormonal, it could be parasitic, it could be viral, I don't know. However, when I find those two things out, I'll then be able to make a very specific homeopathic remedy that will change that on a frequency level within 3 or 4 days. It's a done deal. Then the body starts to really heal itself. I'll then test the body and find out what's nutritional deficient, what will do you well, how much and for how long. Now, when you take that mystery out of it, that's how the body heals itself. And then we get into the emotional aspect.
Right.
Amen. That's right. That's right.
Dr. Paul,
yeah.
we touched on something a little bit earlier in the show with Dr. Pajil about the importance of your thoughts and the effect on the molecular structure of the cells in the body. And I found it so amazing. He quoted the Dr. Emoto out of Japan on freezing water after thought was applied to it and looking at the molecular structure of it and the effect of your thoughts actually on water. And the body is being made up of 75% water. I'm finding this quite amazing that people's thoughts can actually change the structure of the cells inside of their bodies. I want to put this out there. What about people that you're hanging around with that are negative? Are they affecting you and the cells in your body?
Absolutely. And, it's always, you remember Grandmom always used to say, stop hanging out with that crew because you're going to start acting just like them. We have to understand that study that was done with the water is very powerful because there was also another study that was done where they could show which water was either prayed over and one that was not prayed over. So it's, again, dealing with the molecular structure, but you're able to, yourself, you are the greatest potentizer, meaning that you are the producer of energy, and that thought process is driven to everything that you do. So if you think you're sick, you're sick. So does a man thinketh, so he is. So if you're continuously saying, I'm sick, I'm sick, I'm sick, and family, y'all got to hear us when we're saying this, you are doing detrimental effects to your body. So you have to understand when you step to something, you got to start speaking life into yourself and speaking life into your children and speaking life into your family.
Right.
Because if you don't do this, then yes, it will start to come back and you say, well, what happened? Well, maybe it's because you never put into the proper thought to actually healing that child or healing that family or doing what you're supposed to do. It's all about commitment.
That's right. Dr. Paul and Dr. Pajil, we're going to take a brief commercial break, and we'll be right back.
Welcome back to the Green Hour on 900 AM WURD, Word on the Weekend, sponsored by Solia. And now your host, Laura Gaines.
Thank you. Welcome back. And we are here with Dr. Pajil and Dr. Paul. So we are talking about emotions, and we're talking about those body parts, those organs that are associated with our emotions, which is the liver. I want to ask Dr. Paul a little bit about what we do for the liver.
Yes, absolutely. Being that the liver, we've talked about this before on earlier shows that you are spirit, mind, and body, and that every organ in your body has a spirit, mind, and body. And number one, dealing with emotions, is your liver. We call it the organ of the emotions. So with that, that's one of the first areas that we find through an assessment or some form of, through the urine primarily, that there's toxicity in that region. Because the liver is sort of the nuclear reactor for the body. It's the charge. And it's basically when that thing is emotions, whatever you're going through, your liver's going through it. Empathy, whether you're stressed, whether you're fearful, all of that is harbored up in the liver. So some of the things that you can do for the liver as far as detoxification, based on an assessment, I would definitely recommend. But if you, in general, dealing with some of the herbs that are specifically frequent for going in and cleansing the liver, you would use something like a burdock root. And these, of course, not here to diagnose, treat a cure any disease. We've got to put that out there.
That's right.
Burdock root is one of the ones that regenerates that liver. And also there's one called milk thistle, the dandelion, also yellow dock, or even if you take a simple lemon or lime in your water. These are things that can start to regenerate the liver. So there's different types of cleanses that you can deal with, but most of the time when we're treating issues dealing with emotions, we start at the liver. See, what's happening is the liver is hooked directly to your brain. It actually goes into what's called laws of complementary pairs, meaning that you're hooked directly to your brain. So that's feeding your brain. I mean, if all systems fail, if you're in the hospital, usually the last one to fail is going to be the liver that feeds directly to the brain. So that's an amazing fact. But we know is the liver is like ride or die. I'll do whatever I can do to stay before I can give this to the body. We're going to stay as long as we can. So, yes, that is emotion. That's all the way you handle yourself, and basically in the emotions that you go through, everything is harbored in the liver. So we got to detox that.
Right.
But also we have to have a good spirit of forgiveness.
Right.
You know, that's one thing I didn't hear yet that we need to really deal with also is the feeling of forgiveness. Because when you harbor up those feelings, the issues that we find with those who have issues with cancer and a lot of things that are on the cellular level that are tearing us apart, it's because of lack of not lack of, but a lot of unforgiveness, resentment, and unresolved conflict.
Wow.
Okay, those are the things that we got to really tackle. And sometimes, you know, we got to understand, you got to let it go.
Right.
You got to let it go, family.
Exactly.
Sometimes it's good to take a loss. An L ain't always a bad thing. Sometimes that's a growing point for you.
Exactly.
Sometimes you gain in your loss. Sometimes that was something that you saw that you didn't see before because you took the loss. So ultimately, we have to understand that that's part of your human anatomy and that's part of your growth.
Right. I want to ask Dr. Pajil. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. Thank you. I deeply concur. You know, our liver is our largest internal cleansing organ. A quarter of our blood at any time is being filtered through that organ. So consider it like the filter of our furnace. It becomes sluggish very, very quickly. Everything gets processed through that, which then starts to compromise the 500 other functions that the liver has to accomplish. So, as Dr. Paul said, without cleansing, there's no healing. Now, when it comes to the other aspects of the emotional, remember that it's really the subconscious that, again, is running the show. So one of the things that really want to impress upon our listeners is avoiding disempowering conversations with ourselves. Don't beat yourself up. It's actually a lack of integrity because it's not honoring yourself. So it's the subconscious is running the show. And remember that the brain is hardwired for survival. So it will do what it needs to do to survive. It doesn't know it's right, it's wrong, it's going to be, that's just the way it is. But once we start to have this awakening, once we start to get that the subconscious, we can start to do the healing. You can have all the positive affirmations that you want. You can put them on your mirror, your refrigerator. But deep down in that subconscious, if you were scolded as a little girl and you were told you were nothing, it's the subconscious is ruling that. So we have to get in there and we need to do those clearings and those healings. That's why I said this work is not for sissy. This is tough. The courage to forgive, yeah, it takes something. Because we have a self-vested interest to survive, to be right. It does take something. That's why we talked about, you know, having this kind of grace and ease to go through life. It takes up giving up my resistance.
I want to ask both of you, when we talk about the subconscious, it seems that it's, or spirituality or our mental or mind, it seems like it's so out of reach. It's not something that you can, like you say, you can't work it. It's not a muscle. It's not a pill. How do you reach and change and heal that subconscious? Let's start with Dr. Paul, if we could.
Sure. Again, the ultimate universal balance is spirit, mind, and body. And people play along with that. They'll say body, mind, spirit, things like that. The ultimate universal concept is spirit, mind, and body. You're a spirit being. You have a mind, and you live in a body. So with that concept, spiritually, you have to be connected. That's what your chakras are all about. For those that are listening audience, we're talking about the meridian points of the body that literally are connected, dealing with your endocrine system, which is your glandular system. With that, you, like no other species on this planet, has these chakra systems that allows you to connect, to have a consciousness, which Doctor is also talking about. So what we have to do, we have to tune into your spirituality. You got to get connected to God. Simple as that. To the Creator, the Most High. One of the concepts that I think of is the when Jesus actually was studying. He studied with the Essenes, and some of the Essenes who actually were those who actually partake in everything that we talked about today, and the good doctor talked about also. And that was actually having confirmations, meditation, talking about food, being very thankful for what you have and where you are at this point, and not being resentful.
Right.
So that's where your consciousness, I believe, it rests in spirituality first.
Right. Dr. Pajil?
Thank you. Basically, what you were looking to do is crossing a bridge between the subconscious and the conscious, given that we're only 2% conscious. So it takes the courage, the willingness to open yourself, and to be willing to experience the emotions that come up. That's why I mentioned none of us were ever taught how to embrace and experience a negative emotion or an experience. Be present to it. Breathe. Be present to it. Yes, open your heart to God. Have gratitude. Start to be present to our emotions. As soon as you do that, you start to bridge the gap between the subconscious and the conscious, which then allows you to make choices in the present circumstances rather than from the subconscious that comes from an anger and from a painful experience in the past. And that's what starts to open and awaken your heart. Now, you want mastery in anything? Well, you need a coach. Okay? So the words that I suggest to use, infinite love and gratitude. Here's a thing that our listeners could do to actually have an experience of the power of infinite love and gratitude. If you have a glitch somewhere in your body right now, simply thank your body. Acknowledge your body for speaking to you. On a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being the worst, give it a number. Then say infinite love and gratitude. On a scale from 1 to 10, what number is it now? Chances are it decreased. You might say it's odd, even weird, but that is the power of thought. And that is the power of opening your body to the experiences and emotions that your body is speaking to us.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. I concur. That is a beautiful concept, yes.
I'm really appreciative for both of you guys coming on to the show and really enlightening our audience. I think our audience should take note that you really should be concerned about what you think, the people that are around you, and how they affect you. And you really must be conscious of that, because there is enough information out here that shows that there is an effect on how you think and how people that are around you think.
Exactly. I want to thank Dr. Paul, who will be back with us next week, and our special guest, Dr. Pajil.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Laura.
you. Thank you.
And Dr. Paul, it's my pleasure to be with you again. I will be speaking at the Men's Wellness Breakfast this March with Father and Kenny Gamble.
Oh, excellent.
Our audience and our men know that we will pick up this conversation then.
Excellent. Dr. Paul?
Excellent.
Any closing comment?
Absolutely. I just want to say, and again, concurring, this is an awesome show today. We really tapped on some things about the whole system of forgiveness and understanding where you are, and that thought does change your life. And it works on the other side, too. So if you want to keep things going, stop saying, I hate you. Hate is a very strong word. Right. Stop saying things that are detrimental to the body. Like, I'm not feeling good. Your body says, okay, I guess we're not feeling good today, and it's going to react.
Right.
So, again, you are the master of your body. Spirit, mind, and body, concept, keep that going. Wanted to say to the listening family also, we are doing some things. I don't know if, Michael, you told everyone about the Deliverance Church, which is going to be February
4th.
February 4th.
Okay, we'll be out February 4th at Deliverance. That's 23rd and Lehigh Avenue. And also we'll be at Enon. I'll be at Enon Tabernacle Baptist Church on March the 19th.
Excellent.
So we'll be having a seminar there for the 40-day fast.
That's great. Thank you so much, Dr. Paul. Thank you so much, Dr. Pajil. I've got to make some announcements for Martin Luther King Day of service. Zion Baptist is having a all-day program. Doors open at 8 a.m. Services start at 9. The 17th annual Greater Philadelphia Martin Luther King Day of Service is hosted at Girard College this year, and they will have at least 300 volunteers and 100 projects under the watchful eye of WURD friend Todd Bernstein. Also,
I would definitely like to get a special shout out to my nephew, BG Lil Bennett. Happy birthday.
Absolutely. And last but not least, at St. Joe's, Reverend Louise Bishop will be having a program from 10 to 12 tomorrow. WURD will be broadcasting live for the 25th annual celebration. That's at 54th and City Line Avenue. We thank you. We want to thank again the management, the owners of WURD for being such forward thinkers. I want to give a brief quote from Dr. Martin Luther King. The hope of a secure and livable world lies with disciplined nonconformists who are dedicated to justice, peace, and brotherhood. Thank you all, and we'll see you next week. Our show is rebroadcast. Thank you, Hayden. Every Thursday from 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. Thank you.